Editor's note: this story originally ran on May 6, 2018 for the 20th anniversary of Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout gameIt was an otherwise nondescript day. In fact, it was a forgettable one. Overcast and rainy, the Cubs were hosting the Houston Astros in an early May matinee. School was still in session, so just 15,758 fans were in attendance. How many stayed to see history is unknown, as the rain picked up throughout the day. That didn't stop 20-year-old Kerry Wood from a magical performance. He produced the highest game score in baseball history, posting a pitching line of 9 IP, 1 H0 BB, 20 Ks. He did it with a dynamic fastball and a slurve, which the Astros would call unhittable. Here are the memories of some of those involved, including Wood. Current Cubs pitchers Jon Lester and Kyle Hendricks had the 2 cents as well after watching the highlights in arguably the greatest pitch game in Wrigley Field history. It was May 6, 1998, 20 years ago. Kerry Wood: I remember specifically having low energy that day. I don't know why. Maybe it was a day game or the overcast skies. I was dragging at the ballpark. It wasn't jumping right away, the way I wanted. I felt sluggish. Cubs manager Jim Riggleman: I do remember him saying that after the fact. He didn't have a great warm-up. Astros second baseman Craig Biggio, our minor league scout, said, "Hey, he has a good fastball, okay, curve and be patient with him." We watched him warm up, and it was like, okay, no big deal. Then the game started, and the kid put on his Superman costume, and the next thing you know, he struck 20 of us out. Wood: I was all over the place in warm-ups. I was erratic. Every other pitch in the bullpen, I was getting another ball because I was throwing it to the screen or bouncing it in. I didn't throw one strike. The first pitch of the game, it didn't change. I hit plate umpire Jerry Meals in the mask. I didn't have the feel. Plate umpire Jerry Meals: to this day, I don't think I've ever had that happen again. It's the first pitch of the game, so things start going through my head. Is there something I need to be addressing? Is there some bad blood? How do you get crossed up on the first pitch? What the hell is going on here? Wood: I went to 2-0 and Craig Biggio then struck out the side. I absolutely surprised myself. After the first I felt great, but I had zero of those feelings warming up Biggio. He had a nice, smooth delivery. The ball was electric. I could relate it to Craig Kimbrell. He's got that ball where he throws it and it pops in the glove, and it's heavy and hard and firm. He was on Jon Lester in that game. It wasn't a lot of long at-bats. You see a lot of swings and misses and takes, not a lot of foul balls. Nowadays, you know, the spin rate and all this stuff, that would have been plus. That's the biggest thing, the way those pitchers broke. After 4 innings, Wood had 8 strikeouts. An infield hit by Astros shortstop Ricky Gutierrez ruined any chance of a no-hitter, but by then, he was locked in and thinking about a complete game. Wood: Bagwell's second at-bat, I know I get to 3-1, and I throw hook and buckle him back-to-back. After that, I knew I had a chance to finish this. Meals: he had everything working. He had a good hitting team, just baffled. They were flailing on the breaking stuff and couldn't catch up to the fastball. Kyle Hendricks: the movement on his pitches was incredible. What even is that pitch? The serve. I don't know how you snap that off. No clue. You can just see how much spin is being created. Those guys didn't have a chance. Biggio: we didn't have the technology they have today. Now you know everything about a guy. What he throws, how hard and stuff like that. You got everything. And you can go look at your at-bats as the game is going on. Lester: the only information you had back then was facing the guy. Riggleman: somewhere around his 13th strikeout, third base coach Tom Gamboa said, "You know how many strikeouts he has?" It became interesting. I didn't know 20 was a record. Meals: the weather turned crappy in the 6th. The grounds crew did a good job. Wood: my goal was not to walk anyone. That's what I heard my whole minor league career and my short time in the big leagues, just don't walk anyone. In a 1-0 game, I was just focusing on not putting the tying run on base. Biggio: were one swing away from tying the game, so we're not thinking about the strikeouts. But when you go out there you see the fans throwing up the Ks and you're like, holy shoot, how many strikeouts does this guy have? You start counting them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think they ran out of Ks during one stretch. Wood struck out 5 in a row looking. Wood, with 2 strikes. Maybe they thought I was trying to trick them with off-speed, so a lot of those fastballs were them not pulling the trigger, thinking off-speed. Hendricks, the fastball is obviously electric. It rides up in the zone. A few of these breaking balls to a lefty, it goes up and into him. The spin rate would have been unbelievable. It makes it more fun to watch, without all those stats on the screen. Bigio, we had 102 wins that year. That was no weak lineup. He carved us up like we didn't belong there. Riggleman, this is probably a little bit of an indictment of everyone that managed in that period. I was probably thinking like 135 pitches for him. I have to let him try and finish this thing. I didn't want to take him out with men on base. That's when you give life to the other club. Maybe at the end of the inning. I'm not sure we ever got anyone up though. Wood, being from Texas and following Roger Clemens, I knew he had the major league record, but it's not one of those numbers you think is attainable. I didn't know how hard I was throwing or how many pitches I had thrown. We didn't have that back then. Riggleman, there were games in which after 6 or 7 innings, he had 13 or 14 strikeouts. The pitch count was high, and we would take him out. I would get booed like crazy for taking him out. Later, when he was hurt, it was, oh, you pitched him too much. Wood, in the 7th inning, I thought the umpires might call it for a moment due to rain. And I knew at that point, if there is a delay, I'm done. I remember thinking, don't call that game. The Cubs scored an insurance run in the 8th, giving him a 2-0 lead. Wood had 18 strikeouts yet still did not know he had a chance at a record. Wood, I remember thinking in the 8th inning I just wanted to get back out there and finish this up. We scored another run, and I know I just wanted the inning to end. A young player should want his team to score as much as possible. Lester, that would be so hard now. I don't know if you'll see 20 again in the future, with bullpens and specialization. He was very unique, how big and tall he was, and he had the levers working. When you think of Kerry Wood, you think of someone special. Bigio, he hit his spots and made his pitches that day. It was just a man amongst boys right there. The Shohei Ohtani experience. Keep track of the Japanese phenoms bid for greatness on both sides of the ball. Story. Wood, on getting strikeout number 20 against Derek Bell, his first swing in that at-bat, I knew I could throw the rosin bag up there and he would swing at it. Meals, I was thinking about almost calling a no-hitter. A crew chief pointed out he had 20 strikeouts. I had no idea. I wasn't paying attention to the fans holding up the Ks. Wood, my fist pump on the mound was about no walks and completing the game. I hugged reliever Terry Adams and say something to him, because before the game, he said, "Hey Rook, why don't you pitch more than 5 innings? You're killing us." But no one said anything about 20 strikeouts. Meals, umpire Terry Tata was at first base. He says, "You had 19, I had 1, because he rang one up on a check swing." That was when I realized 20. Wood, 30 seconds after it's over, they bring me over to the camera, and my hands are shaking. My adrenaline is racing. That's when I found out I struck out 20 and tied the record. I didn't have anything to say, though. Bigio, you're bummed out you lost, but 20 punch-outs is pretty amazing. Riggleman, you meet a lot of people that say they were there that day, but it was a rainy day in May. Maybe it was 18,000. Hendricks, and to do it that young. He must have been in one of those once-in-a-lifetime zones. Riggleman, a former Cubs, Billy Williams and Ron Santo were at Wood's game that day and said that it was even more dominating than Sandy Koufax's perfect game against the Cubs in 1965. They were at that one, too. You could make a case, as old as that stadium is, that could be the greatest game anyone has ever pitched there.